Today on What's the First Pick? So excited I can't even get the words out, Rick. Is Jayden Daniels?
But that's all, folks.
Is Jayden Daniels already top 5 quarterback? Because he's playing better through 8 weeks than even C.J. Stroud did a year ago. So, of course, we're talking Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams and that exciting ending. We'll also look at a couple of rookie non-QBs who had good weeks. A year 2 standout in Cleveland, of all places. With the NFL trade deadline looming, Rick will tell us the 5 trades GMs around the league should be trying to make right now. But because it's Tuesday, start things off with everyone's favorite segment, Over Rick Actions. But first, Rick, I'm Ryan Wilson. That's Rick Spielman. This is episode 193. Hamsters awake and working. How many days until the 2025 NFL draft?
Yeah, that was quick. I don't know. Did you pre-run it before we went on the show today? Instead of just
I gave the hamster his food.
Yeah.
And he turned the countdown for us
before the show started, so it doesn't have to spin like that and annoy everybody that's watching, including myself. But if you didn't know, Ryan Wilson and Debo, there are 177 days until the 2025 NFL draft.
Time is a ticking. No doubt about that. So got a lot of work to do, not a lot of time to get done. We won't talk about this today. In fact, on Thursday, we're going to do a little mock draft.
Yay.
Halloween edition. You seem excited. By the way, Frick's a little grumpy.
Yeah. No, I am pretty excited because usually Debo will send out the rules on how we're doing the mock, which are very unclear, but we won't go down that rabbit hole till I get the email on how we're actually going to do this. And it's a mess. It's a mess. But the one thing that is exciting is that we react to what we see. So it's not predetermined before the show on how the mocks go. So it is actually live reaction by myself and yourself. And you've made a couple of hiccups along the way on a few of the mocks in the past.
Historically, yes. That is very true. What I was going to say before you went on your little rant there is that Rick is a little overtired. So if he's grumpy today, have some grace for Rick. He's working on it.
If I start talking, you can show him the new light if I start the ramble.
Yeah, that thing's going to get a lot of use. All right, let's get to this thing. Let's start with Over Rick Actions. Week 8 edition. There. Oh. Devo is producing, and if you're watching, you see Rick's glamour shots from the most recent CBS Sports.
He needs to stay.
Oh, no. Oh, no. And if you're listening, please hustle over. Oh, geez, Devo, what is going on? Please hustle over to YouTube and see Rick trying out for Golden Bachelor. Did you get picked for Golden Bachelor, Rick?
Oh, no, my wife would have killed me. So
I think she nominated you. Oh, my gosh. Devo texted me yesterday and said he had some pictures of you. I didn't think he was going to be this.
I was just it was like unbelievable that I got a invite. It may have been accident to show up for the glamour shots at the studios.
These are impossible to believe. So Rick has his hands on his face, looking in complete and utter shock. What was the note from the photographer to get you to make this face?
Huh? They said look surprised.
Oh, okay. That's your surprise face, huh?
Does that look surprised?
That looks surprised. That's the Over Rick Actions face. All right, let's get the Over Rick Actions. Well done, Debo. Sweet mercy. You cannot trust Debo. That's the lesson I'm learning.
Yeah, I know, but do you think I have a shot as maybe a senior male model down the road, or no? No chance.
Hallmark is in your future.
You
and Charles Davis.
Yeah.
Like I said to both you and Charles before, that's the first sign that profilers look for when they're chasing a serial killer. How much Hallmark? No disrespect to Hallmark if they're sponsor. All right, let's get to this. Over Rick Actions, week 8. Rick doesn't know what's coming. Storyline from last week's action of football. I want to get the GM's reaction in real time. I'm going to start here. And Debo and I have another one we're going to talk about, but I want to start here. If you're sitting in the working suite as a general manager on the road and you see your second-round pick, second-year player, cornerback, pointing at the crowd, flapping his gums because they're about to win the game, the play has started probably 3 to 4 seconds into the final play of that game, Chicago versus Washington. Tyrique Stevenson finally turns around, notices that the ball is coming his way, and instead he was supposed to box out Noah Brown. I believe it's his responsibilities, according to Matt Eberflus. Instead, he batted the ball up. Noah Brown caught the ball. Game over. What's the conversation in the working suite as that play unfolds and you see it? And then what's the conversation over the next 24 to 48 hours with all the people involved?
You know what made it worse, just thinking about it, is him waving to the crowd, whatever he was doing, reacting with over Rick acting to the crowd.
He sure
They
did.
think they won the game, and then he like scrambles like you're in watching my kid play 6-year-old football. I remember he was sitting there looking at the crowd, and they snapped the ball his first tackle football game and said, "Dude, you got to pay attention." But then to run over there and bat the ball up in the air to make that's like a double whammy, isn't it? Can you get any worse day in the last 3 seconds of of that game than what happened to him? So I know probably that he is a good kid and he's a very good football player for him. And he just did something dumb. And it wasn't criminal, it's just dumb. Just reading through the clips, I think he apologized to the team. I'm sure it's a great learning lesson. Although I'm sure he will be the brunt of some jokes and some, what's it called, gifs,
Memes.
on the
Gifts. Yes, gifts.
yeah. So I'm sure that he'll be mimicked on there, but it's a hard lesson to learn. But it's I would be just sitting there, and if I seen that and I saw the ball snapped and him still sitting there, it's hard to describe the sensation that goes through your body. That's how you would react. But that's a learning lesson. And like I said, he made a dumb mistake and it cost him the game. What if it cost him the playoffs?
That's the thing. Games are so hard to come by.
Right.
So are you, Rick Spielman,
I'm
angry in the box?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm furious in the box. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
I know you have a history of wearing your emotions on your sleeve.
I can wear my emotions on my sleeves in the game at times, and I shouldn't be able to do that. I need to be like this, but sometimes it's hard to do that. But I'm sure that it's the coach's responsibility to address it right away. So I'm sure Matt addressed it right away. He didn't really throw him under the bus. He didn't say, "Hey, to the media at least." Now I know they've had internal conversations. There's going to be internal conversations with the ownership and a whole ball of wax. But at least
let me ask you this though. You said last week that you will huddle with the coach before he gives a press conference. Are you?
This would be a huddle.
All right, so you got to calm your nerves.
He may not have seen it, because that was, I think it was on the opposite side of the field, or the coach is watching what's going on and he's calling the defense.
Yeah,
they should have never gave him the free out route to put him in position to begin with to throw the Hail Mary, but that's a whole different story. But the coach may not have noticed it because he was honed in on putting in a play call or looking, make sure he's doing his responsibilities. And then it was just, a knucklehead. We should have some knucklehead things that happen. That would have been in the knucklehead category.
But you talk about it. It cost them a game. Games are hard to come by. And you're right. Tyrique Stevenson is a good kid, and he had a great season last year as a rookie. We were down on him coming out because we kept going back to the UNC game. Right. Debo has on the screen here. He tweeted out to Chicago and teammates, "My apologies for lack of awareness and focus. The game ain't over until zeros hit the clock. Can't take anything for granted. Notes taken. Improvement will happen." I think that's what you want the response to be from a 22-year-old who made a mistake. And look, everyone made mistakes at work when they were 22 if they had jobs at the time. The difference is, millions of people weren't watching and taping it. And look, I give Stevenson credit for having the confidence that he had, but you just got to make the play.
Yeah. Now, if he would have batted the ball down, I mean,
no one cares.
Yeah, well, someone would have cared. Like, you're still screwing around. Well, the balls, like you said, you're looking into the crowd, and
that's true.
Jayden Daniels so that would have been brought to the point. But if he would have batted the ball down or basketball rebound positioned Noah Brown and batted it down, and they end up winning the game, it wouldn't have been as big a deal as I think it is right now. But it's lesson learned. He's a good kid. Everybody, was irate. But more probably because they lost the game that way than just that action, although that action was not acceptable. And it's a great learning lesson. And coaches will make up clips. And even during the off season, when you come back to OTAs, we used to do situational football and OTAs as far as when the coaches were teaching. And I'm sure maybe not in Chicago, but that clip of that last play will be shown to 31 other locker rooms to the young guys in not in making fun way, but in a teaching way. This is what you don't do, and you have to play every snap.
So
So
as you,
unfortunately, he was the brunt of it, but it was a great learning lesson for everybody and all football players, college, high school. You go down, it's not over until, or always make sure that you know what the hell's going on.
and I get it, you get caught up in the moment. And it's so tough, and that's why a lot of times we see young players, especially like edge rushers, rookies that get in and they get roughing the passer calls because they're just so juiced up to be in there trying to make a play. And you got to calm your nerves. One last thing before we move on, as you're calming your nerves walking down from the working suite to huddle with the coaches, at any point will you pull Tyrique aside in the locker room, or is that not your job?
It's the coach's job.
Okay.
And the kid, knowing the kid, he probably feels bad enough.
Right.
So it's almost like, do you want to really, if he's down after the game or understands what happened, and I don't know if he knew that it was all caught on tape. I don't know what that was. The most emotion in that locker room after the game was the way they lost the game, not that little segment. And then that just put more fuel on the fire.
Yep. Learning experience. Hopefully Tyrique bounces back, and hopefully it doesn't cost the Bears a playoff spot. Debo had the graphic up there of the current playoff order. His Eagles are currently 7th. The Bears are now 8th, so they're one spot out due to that last-second Hail Mary loss in Washington. All right, next over action. What are we doing with Anthony Richardson?
Oh, boy.
Because the stats are hard to look at. He played a little bit better than that. A.D. Mitchell should have caught that touchdown in the corner of the end zone early on in that game. He didn't catch it. But there's also a lot of stuff where you're going, okay, we're year 2 into this thing. And I understand that they only played 13 games in college and there's a learning curve, but it feels like not only are we treading water from a year ago, we might be moonwalking back a little bit. Shane Steichen was non-committal when asked about who the starter was going to be going forward just next week, not long term. And I don't know if that was just by design or not, but Joe Flacco, it feels like, gives him a better chance. So is the thing, are we trying to win now? Or are we trying to figure out what we got?
That's a discussion you're having this probably Monday morning when you get back. And I've been in a couple of these meetings. It's the head coach, it's the ownership, it's the general manager on what direction do we go with this young kid. And the ownership has to understand that I don't know if they would say they're one of the favorites, or because if Joe Flacco starts, he may get him in the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to advance in the playoffs. And I think it's a long shot, even if Joe Flacco's a quarterback, that they get in the playoffs with the way the AFC is rolling. Although it's weak in the AFC East. I mean, it's AFC West. I mean, AFC North. So there's not really, where are the teams going to come in the playoffs? Like, for example, where is Indy right now, Debo, and your little graph there on playoff teams?
They're 8th. They're one spot out.
Okay. So
this 4-4, right behind the Chargers.
This is the decision make. I would say this. You can say, we're going to go with Joe Flacco because it gives us the best chance to win and potentially get in the playoffs. But we're going to be in the same position we are next year at this time. And we're going to be starting over with Anthony Richardson. And we don't know what we have yet. So they have to come to either cross the Rubicon. I think that was something historically that I remember in college.
I got a word of the day calendar. Nice.
With him or without him. But you remember, this is still his rookie year. I understand, you look at the percentage of, which is horrible, but he does have some drop passes and guys.
Rookie year in the sense that he hasn't played 16 games yet?
17.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and then, but the thing that really bothered me, and I think it bothered some of the players, was the tap out for a play. No one taps out. That's
but why did he tap out?
Because he was tired.
He said that, and I've heard several players, including Micah Parsons, I just listened to on his podcast, said, look, man, just lie. Say your hamstring hurts, say your hip hurts. Don't say you're tired. You can't do that.
No, that's a cardinal sin. That's almost worse than Tyrique Stevenson yelling at the fans while the ball snapped in the end zone.
But that goes to the other thing. He's incredibly young, and he's, by all accounts, a great kid. He's from, country Florida, and he's not a big city guy. And by that, I mean, he's telling you ask him a question, he's going to answer it, and he loves football and he's excitable and all those other things. But he still has a long way to go in terms of just maturing because he's only 21 or whatever he is.
Yeah. We're trying to put these kids. There's so much spotlight on these kids,
right?
And I appreciate the honesty. I mean, because he's not going to lie. I mean, but the one thing you never do is say you just tapped out because you were tired, especially if you're a leader of that team. I'm sure in the locker room, someone's going, you don't think any of those other guys are tired, but they're out there gutting it out as a team together. So, but especially that's going to be even highlighted more as a quarterback. So Indy has two ways to go. They're at the Rubicon. Either they're crossing it over with Richardson, or they say, we'll go with Flacco, try to make the playoffs. And we get in the playoffs, let's see how far we can advance. And then we're going to figure this out next year. And you're starting over from scratch because you don't know what you truly have with Anthony Richardson.
All right, I know your GM answer, but how much would you think about, I know it's getting into the dance and you have a chance, but the Colts, even if they get in, aren't coming out of the
I would say my honest opinion is I have to know what this kid is. And I know I might sacrifice this year as a playoff team. Now, I can't, as a coach, lose that locker room either, because if the guys think you packed it in, that's another issue that a coach has to deal with. But in order for us to move forward as an organization, the number one position is a quarterback. I have to know if Anthony Richardson is our guy or not. And it's too early to determine that. So play him. I would play Anthony Richardson to have the answers at the end of the season and go from there.
Yeah, I think Debo's question was the one I was going to ask. At 4-4, the Colts are an average football team, and it's not. They're not winning the Super Bowl. So even if you roll with Joe Flacco, and I think you sort of hinted at this, Rick, and you get in the playoffs and lose in the first round, who cares? You still don't know anything about AR.
Nope. And that's the answer. That's the most important, in my opinion. That's the most important question you have to get answered.
Right. Yeah, because I mean they're out on Bryce Young in Carolina. Titans don't seem crazy about Will Levis, who's injured. So this is year 2 for these quarterbacks, and it feels like the whole evaluation process has been sped up. But here we are.
Steve Young was cast aside long time ago.
Who?
And Steve Young was cast aside.
Yeah, exactly.
So
all right. I'm going to ask a quick question. Debo wants to take a break, but you got to give me a 30-second answer so we can get to break here. This is my last overreaction. I'm sneaking this one in 2A. What are you doing as you're walking down from the working suite after you hear Trevon Diggs tell the reporter, D's nuts, and then walk off? Did you see that?
I did not see that. So I'm going.
Okay. Debo, can I go into that or not?
Yesterday, and so I missed some of this stuff. So this is even better because I'm just reacting off the top of my head.
You want to take a break, Debo, and tease this, or can I ask this question?
Yeah, I mean,
we're here. So after the game, one of the local beat reporters, I don't remember who it was for Dallas, overreactions time. He sent out a tweet on a long play that may have been a touchdown. I can't remember the details of a San Francisco player running down the field. Trevon Diggs looks like at the end of that play, he wasn't going 100%. And Trevon Diggs took issue with that. He saw the tweet between the end of the game and the time they were supposed to meet with the media. He came out ahead of the media meet and greet, went to the reporter and basically said he wasn't happy with the tweet. And the reporter asked him a question. I think it ended with Trevon saying D's nuts, and then he walked off. So Trevon later apologized. He said he was in the heat of the moment. He felt like he was being disrespected by the tweet. The tweet felt pretty innocuous, but I understand why Trevon might be angry given the way that game went for them. But again, another interaction with the media that probably could have gone a little better. And is this something the PR guys running to you and saying, oh my gosh, we have to deal with this? It wasn't a huge deal, but it became a story for
anything now is a huge deal.
That's true. That's true.
It's who would back in 1980, no one would know that. If you went after a reporter, and who knows what Jack Lambert did to some of the reporters after games, It
was more than that.
Yeah. So that's a situation, again, where you grab that kid, and I understand how emotional everybody is after the game, and people don't really understand the losses are extremely difficult. I mean, and people, they just battled for 3 hours on a football field, given their best effort. Now you can question, I don't see it. I didn't see whether he gave his best effort or not on the last play. And there's already a lot of stress on that
Right.
football team to just
Especially that team, yeah.
that. And so, but that's a situation where I would go with the PR guy and pull the kid aside and say, listen, this is not how you handle this. I understand your emotions, but I always looked at it like you're trying to teach all the time. And if they do something that is not very intelligent, I don't want to say the S word because we're not allowed to say that in our house. But if
you can't say stupid in the house?
No one's stupid. There's you can be an idiot. You can be an idiot and a moron, but you're never the S word.
I love that you caught yourself. So your wife's working.
Yeah,
working for her. But
that's again another younger player, although he's been around for a little bit, that he should know better. But people, that's the thing that everybody has to learn, and I had to learn it too. But I never did it in public. But if someone was very offensive towards me, I can take the criticism. What I couldn't take if it was personal, crossing the line. So if it's something personal crossing the line, you have to bring that kid aside and just say, calm him down first to understand what the ramifications are when you overreact to some reporter that puts out a dumb tweet. And then once you settle down, then answer the question. But don't answer the question or don't overreact, especially when you're after an emotional loss and all the pressure that's already on you.
All right, let's take a break. I love it. Don't say stupid, Debo. When we come back, we'll talk about these rookie quarterbacks, especially Jayden versus Caleb right after this.
It's a team almost too good to be true.
You guys ain't ready for us.
Kick your game day off right as the Tops team tackles all the biggest headlines around the league.
Who's got two thumbs and loves this next segment?
Sunday mornings on CBS Sports Network.
All right, Rick, NFL Week 8 rookie quarterback watch. We're going to start with Caleb Williams in the Caleb versus Jayden matchup. Chicago went to Washington. We talked about how that game ended. Rough going for Caleb early on, 10 of 24, 131. Didn't throw a touchdown. Didn't have any interceptions. Did run for 41 yards, and they lost that game, obviously 18-15. He was blitzed 42% of the time, which is a season high. He was pressured 64% of the time, which was a season high. They were getting after it. Receivers, for the most part, felt like they were struggling to get open. Again, there's been some sloppy route running. We've seen this for a few weeks in a row now, and I wonder what's going on with guys in the same area when, Caleb's at the top of his drop. The guys are at their stem. I don't know what's going on there. He showed his ability to run, which we've seen, and he's going to have to keep doing that. I want to give Roschon Johnson a shout out. He had a blitz pickup on Bobby Wagner, which set up a big play.
Yep.
And that's been a big thing because Roschon struggled at times last year as a rookie to block, and that happens with rookie running backs. But that stuck out to me. But the overall takeaway was that Caleb got better as the game went on. That last drive, he made some big boy throws. But I look at that offense and I look at the offense on the other side of the field, and I see sort of two different trajectories for the young quarterbacks right now. And I'm sure Caleb's frustrated with how the game ended, but they should have won that game, even though he was, mediocre. It wasn't his best effort.
Yeah, if you look, he's been on the trend upward. Each game he's gotten better and better, and we've talked about him every week. In this game, to me, and before we get on Caleb, I got to give kudos to Dan Quinn. And that's a defense that really struggled in the first couple of weeks. They don't have great talent. They don't have true edge pass rushers. They need some help on the back end. But the way that Commanders defense is playing has been lights out over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Hey, can I ask you something? Why would the Panthers let Frankie Louvu go?
I don't know. I wasn't in the meeting. I was sitting here doing a podcast. If I would have sat in a meeting and asked you that, he's a good football player. Usually you don't let good football players out of the building. That was our philosophy. If we draft them and they're good football players, let's just try to keep them and not be a developmental team for other teams to take our guys.
Right, like a minor league. Yep, fair enough. All right, go ahead. I didn't mean to get you fired up.
So I would say that he looked a little helter-skelter to me because of the pressure. But when he didn't get pressured, there were some guys open underneath that I think he was always looking for the deep shot. I think there was a little added pressure on him going against it. You make it sound like King Kong versus Godzilla. Jayden versus Caleb.
It was. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, we didn't see that matchup last year. That would have been fun, but.
And I think, and I'm just giving my own personal opinion. I don't know this, but what my impression was that he was pressing more this game than he was when he played, when they played over in London and against Jacksonville and some of the other games. This game, he seemed like he was trying to press more because of the quarterback on the other side of the field.
Is it crazy to say that Washington has better receivers, tight ends than Chicago does, which would have been crazy to say in August?
I don't think that. I mean, DJ, do you think they're better? You got McLaurin, right?
Got Scary Terry. You got Zach Ertz is playing out of his mind.
Yeah, he's resurrected himself.
What's his face? McCaffrey's contributing. Noah Brown's contributing. But they're guys that are getting open. Maybe that's on paper, athletically, Chicago's better.
Yeah, I think it's the concepts. I think Cliff Kingsbury, when I'm watching it looks at how he's scheming these guys open.
Yes.
And how Jayden, when you looked at his game, he was off some too with his accuracy, but made some incredible throws as well. More wild type throws than I think Caleb made this game, because Caleb, well, you're right, in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden the light flicked on him and he seemed to settle down, and then he should have settled down, and they should try to get him settled down earlier in the game. But I think it's schemes a little bit too. Because
that's a fantastic point. One more overreaction outside of the overreaction segment. What do you think about giving Tevin Jenkins the ball at the 1 yard line?
Oh my God! Why do we?
What are we doing with our life? To quote Rick Spielman.
Oh yeah, what are we doing with our life right now? The guy. It's how close is that game? If they give it to Roschon Johnson, huh?
And he got bent backwards. They almost killed him.
Yeah, I know. But if you give it to Roschon Johnson, that's a touchdown. What are we doing with our life when we're doing stuff like that?
As our buddy B-Mac likes to say, two-time Super Bowl champ defensive back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, offensive coordinators, told us they get so arrogant and they get out from doing what wins football games to show their butts, and then stuff like that happens. All right, pop or drop for Caleb.
I'm going to drop him from what I've seen the last 3 weeks.
I got to agree.
Except the fourth quarter, I popped him, but for 3 quarters, he was a drop for me.
Yeah, he's got 3/4 of a drop. I agree with that. Love it.
God, Debo, boy, he's up all night putting all these new graphics and things together.
Producer Gary did that a while
ago. Yeah, my glamour shots.
Oh, that's all Debo. There. I can't. I mean, Rick has if you're listening, this is like off the cover of Fortune magazine from 1983, where they tell the CEO to act like he's busy at his desk, and he puts his hand on his chin. What was the cue for that?
I don't know. I was just playing within my character. I don't know if Hallmark's going to see these photos, and maybe they say, "Hey, that's a handsome lad there. Maybe we should give him a call."
That is a handsome lad. That is insane. Love it. Love to see it. All right. Drop for Caleb, unfortunately. He's still good, though. Next up, Mr. Daniels. I think you've said this before. You don't disagree with that through 8 weeks, he's better than CJ was a year ago?
I said that week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I'll say it week 8.
Yeah. It's not even controversial at this point. 21 to 38 for 326. Had a touchdown, no interceptions, ran for 52 yards. I tell you what, for someone who has a bruised rib, he didn't look like he was playing with a bruised rib. He was out there taking hits. I was like, please get down. Please get out of bounds. He took a couple shots on running plays.
I did think, in my opinion, I did think that there was a little bit more of some accuracy issues because of those ribs. Because he missed some throws that he made earlier in games, but I think, because you're right, he did take some shots. I'm sure that is sore because that is a painful injury.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they try to monitor that and try to keep the pain within reason. But I do think some of the throws, and he made some spectacular throws, but I think some of the accuracy things that I've seen him make in earlier games may have been affected by that rib injury. But there was no question he was rolling now on that big, long pass to McLaurin down the sideline. I mean, he put that in on a dime, and then, of course, the Hail Mary pass. There was no issues with his ribs there.
No. So that 61-yard bomb down the left side to Terry McLaurin, 3rd and 9, number 1. He threw that ball when McLaurin was about a yard behind, or in front of, I should say, Tyrique Stevenson, who was on the coverage in that play. And it was a 61-yard handoff. That was a crazy throw. Most pass yards by a rookie quarterback. Jayden Daniels is 326. He's behind only Jay Schrader. Shout out to Jay Schrader. Ed Rubert. I don't remember him. Do you remember him from 1987?
No.
I don't either. Kirk Cousins. I don't know if you know who that is. Then, of course, RG3. Both those guys did it their rookie seasons in 2012 when they were, one was a first-round pick and one was a fourth-round pick. But that said, I thought James still played. Oh, go ahead, Debo.
I was just going to say that was the scab year, Ed Rubert.
Oh,
Shout out for
thank you. Good call, Debo.
That is 1987. I was asked to become a scab, and I elected to stay in to finish my master's degree up at Ohio State.
What would your brother have said about that? Would he have cared?
He was in college. He didn't care. He was worried about beating Michigan. There, I can say that team up north.
Yeah, I can't believe you said Michigan.
I can't say Michigan.
Good call, Debo. A couple things on Jayden. He was a hair late getting to my guy Luke McCaffrey. I thought they had an end zone touchdown in the corner of the end zone. He just didn't get over there quickly enough, and the coverage sort of didn't allow him to throw the ball. Thought he threw the ball pretty well to the sidelines on the secondary intermediate routes. Again, I think he continues to layer the ball pretty well. You talked about some of the accuracy issues. I think that is related to the ribs. And I'll say this. Montez Sweat might be the only person on planet Earth that plays the edge position that can run with Jayden Daniels, because he put some licks on Jayden and he didn't allow him to turn the corner a few times. And I don't know what that game looks like if Montez Sweat isn't out there cutting off those angles. Also had some drops. Noah had a couple drops. Zach had a couple drops. But at the end of the day, where are you on this? Can we quit rushing 3 people on these Hail Marys? Can we just get after the quarterback? How many times have you rushed 6 people and they've gotten 80 yards in a play? Never happens. Just rush.
All right. Here's my point on that.
Oh.
Is there's plenty of opportunities to look at what everybody does in those situations in the end of the game. Detroit, I think I watched some clips on Detroit. They rushed 5. They got after Sam Darnold. I think that was in the
Absolutely.
Minnesota.
That's right.
So it's philosophy, but coaches get paid a lot of money to figure out those things. But if I'm, the copycat league, if I'm seeing people rush 5 and no one's having success with Hail Marys, then why not rush 5? It gave Jayden Daniels a stage to show off his athleticism. I mean, I think he scrambled around for almost 5 minutes before he got settled down there and threw the ball up. But just look at what works. Now, maybe that was their philosophy, but they shouldn't have got him in that position to begin with, because they were playing
before.
Yeah. Guard the sidelines. That's what every coach I've been around always said in those situations. Do not let the receiver get the ball out of bounds.
You know what's funny? The play right before halftime, they guarded the sidelines, and Jayden threw it out of bounds.
Yeah. Guard the sideline. You don't let them catch a sideline and get out. That was insane. And I understand you, but you never know. I mean, maybe 1 in 100 work on a Hail Mary, but we saw Aaron Rodgers make one a couple weeks ago, right? A Hail Mary pass right before the half to Lazard, and then you've seen it happen again. I know it's a minimal chance of success, the Hail Mary pass, but don't even give yourself in that position to have the opponent have a minimal chance to have success. It's pretty simple.
By the way, Rick, according to Next Gen Stats, Jayden Daniels held onto the ball for 12.8 seconds on that final play. And let's see, the first touchdown pass with a time to throw over 10 seconds in the Next Gen era. So he had nearly 13 seconds, threw the ball 52 yards. I think it was 62 air yards or whatever. And the rest is history. I'm giving Jayden a pop. I don't know how you feel about it.
Pop.
All right, let's breeze through these other quarterbacks here. Drake May only played a handful of snaps because he got concussion. Again, I question the concussion spotters. I don't want to call these guys out, but he stayed in for a few plays after that. He looked a little woozy when he got hit when you watched the replay. I know it's hard to keep an eye on 22 people, but I feel like we do a better job than that. Prior to that, I thought he looked pretty good. He keeps getting better, keeps winning with his legs, which we've talked about he was going to have to do. I don't know how the Jets lose that game to Jacoby Brissett, but that's not what we're talking about here. You feel pretty good about Drake May. He was only 3 of 6.
Yeah, but you talk about a team in a dark place. I know we're not talking about the Jets. You think Chicago's in a dark place this week. That's as dark as you can get right now with where the Jets are, but that's a whole
I'm going to give you a little tease, Rick. I'm going to talk about the Jets when we get to the Rick GM segment later on, so we can put a pin in that one.
Okay. Does that mean is put a pin, it's over? You're done?
We'll revisit it. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't understand that analogy.
I crossed the Rubicon on that one.
Yeah. Debo, do you even know what the Rubicon is? When you were in college, did you study what the Rubicon was?
No, we're not lucky enough at Penn State University to have the same education as you guys.
Southern Illinois is a state school too, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We studied the Rubicon.
What'd you think of Drake May?
I think that he's getting better every week, and it's hard to judge him off what we saw on that short span. So I don't know. I would probably continue to give him a pop. And the reason I gave him a pop, I think I saw a next gen stat I was reading on the plane last night. He was the second fastest quarterback when he scrambled for that touchdown, over 20-some miles an hour.
Yeah, I think he hit 20 plus.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible.
And that's what you're going to need from him. You can't. The hits are unfortunate. What is it? It wasn't even a weird play where he was being reckless. He just got hit high and banged his head, I believe. All right, I'll give Drake May a pop too. And maybe we were overcautious about not playing him because the offensive line has been okay. It hasn't been great, but he's an athlete and he's making some throws, and that's what you want to see. All right, next up, Bo Nix against the Carolina Panthers. Panthers defense was very angry at your buddy Sean Payton for running up the score, and Sean said, "Get better." And Sean Payton is exactly right. This ain't JV homecoming. Youngest player with 3 touchdown passes and 1 rush TD in a game. Bo Nix, 24 years old.
Yeah,
Top of the list ahead of Brock Osweiler, John Elway, and Peyton Manning. This is Broncos history. I love that Peyton's on the list. He did it at age 37. So this game to me felt like the Tampa Bay game where 7-on-7. I don't want to say anything bad about Bo Nix. I think we're going down the road media where they just crush Bo Nix. He took what he was given. He made some throws down the field. He got the ball out on time. He was pressured on 15% of his dropbacks, which was 4th lowest among all quarterbacks last week. But whatever, he can't do anything about the Carolina Panthers being a terrible football team. So I'm going to give him a pop. 28-37, 284, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
I'm giving him a pop too because he hasn't been playing very well the last couple of weeks, and this week he definitely it was. And I understand Carolina is struggling right now, and they look like a homecoming team. So when they're come up on your schedule, it's like your homecoming game right now the way they're playing. But he, you got to give him credit where credit's due, and he made the throws. He used his legs. His accuracy was better this game. So pop for me.
Next up. The Broncos with Bo Nix will be facing Baltimore on the road, the Chiefs on the road, in Atlanta. So we'll find out.
Yeah, that'll be a couple of good games coming up for Bo.
Yeah, so let him enjoy this. Pop for Bo. I'm not talking about Spencer Rattler. I'm just going to pretend like that didn't happen. He got benched for Jake Hayner. Did you want to say something about Spencer?
Yeah, I know if he would have balled out, you would have had your Spencer T-shirt on, but I think you put it deep into your closet drawer.
Yeah, that's a cleaning of the bathroom rag right now. I would like to elevate it to a T-shirt again, but I get it, man. It's tough. It's tough for a rookie out there. 12 24 for 156.
Just let it go.
Got to let it go. All right, let's talk about something positive.
Yay.
Offensive and defensive rookies of the week. And there are a lot of candidates. Once again, I kept Debo's rookie off the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to that in a second. Let's start with offense. And my guy, Ladd McConkey. 6 targets, 6 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns versus the aforementioned Saints. They cruised to victory there at the end there, 26-8. Played outside, played inside. One of my favorite players in the draft. I went back and looked just to double check here, and he was drafted 9th among all wide receivers. I'll start with the 2 guys drafted ahead of him, even the 3 guys drafted ahead of him. If you're the Chiefs, would you rather have Lad McConkey or Xavier Worthy?
Right now, Lad. And we've
If
talked
you're
about that in the past. That I like Xavier, but I wasn't a huge fan of Xavier's. We both.
Yeah, I know you were.
You were. Yeah, I mean, you besides Spencer Rattler, this was your favorite guy coming out last year.
You weren't. I mean, the concern with Xavier was size, and we've sort of seen that. The next Xavier drafted before Lad, Xavier Legette in Carolina. I don't know if that makes any difference if you're in Carolina, but you have a choice.
No, I think well, Lad's playing better, but Legette, he made a nice catch on that slant route, and so I think he's coming. He's going to be a good player. So.
And then Keon Coleman's hitting the stride too in Buffalo. He was drafted.
He's getting better every week. He was a spotlight player last week, your rookie of the week. So he's getting better. He's learning how to use his big body.
Yep. But the things we saw from Lad against the Saints are the things we saw at Georgia. He is undersized, but he is incredibly twitchy. He gets open consistently. He runs sharp, crisp routes. He has great hands. He showed the ability to make contested catches in this game. So all things that we sort of knew about. The issues were size and
their
inability to stay healthy at times. But fun watch, and I got to give Lad a pop. Obviously, he's my offensive rookie of the week here. What'd you think of what he did?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. It was great to see him make that downfield catch. It was like a contested situation. Very smart versus zone coverage, settling and finding the open seams. He won in man coverage. The 2 touchdowns, probably should have had 3 touchdowns. He fell just short of the goal line on the one when they were in the red zone. But it was much better because he played very well. I think it was his best game of the season. I went back and watched him against Arizona, and it wasn't the same guy. I mean, he started to get better towards the end, but first 2 throws his way in the Arizona game were drops. So, but this kid really responded this week and had probably his best game of the season.
Other guys that were on the list here, Marvin Harrison Jr. had a good game. Keon Coleman again had another good game. Bucky Irving, who we talked about when mentioning his other teammates a few weeks ago, he's balling out. And Joe Alt didn't give up a single pressure. Another team that had a really good draft class, the Chargers.
Yes, all good players.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. I did not put Cooper DeJean on here, even though he could have very easily been on here for that great tackle and the way he played overall. Great tackle against Jamar Chase at the end of that game. Other nominees, Jared Verse, talked about him last week. Jerry and Jones. Isaac Garendo had a good game. And, of course, Beanie Bishop, who we talked about last week, had a touchdown. Interception, excuse me.
Interception last night.
At the end of that game. Another team in New York that is going in the wrong direction, the Giants. But let's talk about Edge Cooper, linebacker out of Green Bay. So I think I've told you this before, Rick. A lot of times what I do, I'll just look at the stats and look at the advanced metrics to see which players are sort of shining as rookies or second-year players because I don't see it in real time on Sundays all the time. And Edge Cooper was near the top of the list. So I said, let's go watch it. And he was pretty pedestrian against the run. He's a little undersized. He's running around the blocks. And we talked about that during the draft process. But the athleticism in terms of as a pass rusher and even in coverage is where he shines right now. And he can get better against the run. But he had the PBU down the middle of the field on the play where Christian Kirk ended up getting hurt. I think he's done for a while.
Yeah, collarbone, I think, on that.
Yeah.
There you go.
But he was at the line of scrimmage in the A gap, and he basically played Tampa 2, ran down the middle of the field against a slot receiver with a pass breakup 40 yards down the field. That was a fantastic display of athleticism. And then he had the strip sack on Trevor Lawrence inside Jacksonville's own 5-yard line that was recovered by his teammate. And those are the sort of things that get your attention. The burst, the athleticism, the ability to run sideways and obviously down the field. Against the run, not so much yet, but those plays flashed, and that's obviously why he was high up there on the advanced metrics list. But it was a fun watch because I hadn't watched him at all this year.
Yeah, and he just has to get stronger, especially versus the run. Now, clean air production and range, sideline to sideline, check the boxes. He can do all that. He needs to get more physical, taking on blockers. He missed that tackle on Trevor Lawrence's touchdown run, where you would like to see him stronger to wrap and bring him down instead of getting kind of dragged into the end zone. Missed a tackle, got up, but Trevor made it into the end zone. So, but no, there's no question about the athleticism. He got tested again in that game down the seam and didn't make the play. But when you have a linebacker that can run with receivers, that's a pretty unique linebacker with that type of speed.
And he wasn't starting.
Yeah, and it gives them the ability, and Jeff Hafley, the ability, the defensive coordinator, to do a lot of different things when you have the athleticism that this kid has.
definitely for the Christian Kirk play. I don't know if it was for the other one that you're mentioning. He started at the line of scrimmage. He wasn't even 6-7 yards off the ball, so he had to basically sprint with the wide receiver down the seam. But yeah, nice fun watch from Edge Cooper. Played 33 snaps that game, so he's getting a little more playing time. All right, finally, year 2 spotlight player. Should have been my guy Calvin Austin III, who you've been down on since day one. 2 touchdowns, including a 73-yard punt return against the Giants. Could have been Josh Downs. Had a big game for the Colts. Puka Nacua. Turns out he's good when he's healthy, Puka Spielman. But I had to go to Cleveland, where Jameis Winston got the start. Did you hear Jameis's pregame speech by any chance while you were traveling the country?
No.
He's a great speaker, and he can be inspirational. And he said, play for the name on your back. Play for the thing. He said, oh, wait, we don't have a decal on the side of our helmet. Just play for each other because the Browns are the Browns. Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. And Cedric Tillman's a popular comp for a lot of wide receivers we do coming out, which is sort of interesting. But he's a big-bodied guy that they lined up all over the place. But he had 9 targets, 7 catches, 99 yards, including that game-winning touchdown against the Ravens. The play before, Kyle Hamilton dropped the interception that would have ended the game. But whatever, Jameis don't care. He threw the ball on a little post, said made the play. But I thought he was a target early and often. They got the ball in his hands and let him run over people, except for that last play. And I like the way they're using him. We just hadn't been able to see that because the quarterback situation has been such a mess.
Yeah, there's another place that's in a dark place and going into next season at their quarterback position. But it seemed like Jameis Winston must have had a rapport with him during this week of practice, because the slant routes, he knows what type of big body this guy is. And he may not be fast, but he showed some speed, in my opinion, after the catch, a little bit better than I thought. And to get behind the secondary, which is a cardinal sin, at the end of the game, he put on like a post, a little double move, and got the DB to settle him in it and got behind him. And Winston made a great throw. So kudos to him, because remember when he came out, he was injured, didn't have a great year before he came out. Then there was questions about the speed. Everybody was on Hyatt, and I don't even know what happened to him. It's,
you may have been right about Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, I was a little.
He didn't see the field last night. I don't even know if he's still in the Giants.
Yeah. So I wasn't as high on Hyatt as some other people were, because I'm not a big one-year wonder guy. But the year before at Tennessee, this guy was a really good receiver, big physical receiver. So great, good kid, and he works his tail off. So I was glad to see him starting to have success. And he reminds me a little bit of Keon Coleman, and Coleman's going to be that, but probably a notch better than Tillman, but similar type receiver, that big body receiver that can box out defensive backs, and Coleman's learning how to use his body now too.
And this could be the path forward for Nick Nash, the San Jose kid we talked about last week.
He's not nearly as strong as these guys.
He can get stronger.
Okay.
He had another big week. Another big game on Saturday too.
We're not doing 5-star reviews, bud.
I'm always doing. We have some more of those submissions coming in, so keep those coming. By the way, Rick loves them. Devo, do you want to say anything about Cooper DeJean before we take a break about how great this draft class has been? Because Quignon's basically a shutdown corner at this point.
Yeah, those two are the future.
Oh God, here we go with the bandwagon. Devo's back on the bandwagon.
That's another good draft class too, by the way. A lot of good draft classes.
Yep, that was a good draft class last year in general.
Makes it easier to hit a home run when everyone's good.
Yeah, this year, I don't know. It's going to be the same caliber.
I'll just say Quinyon doesn't have the flash or maybe some of the counting stats as a Sauce Gardner or Devin Witherspoon. Otherwise, I think he'd be talked about a lot more. He just handles his business.
Yep.
And Cooper DeJean, I think, and Quinyon Mitchell have made people forget that James Bradbury is actually a part of this Eagles team.
I did not know that.
It's hurt.
Yeah, but, we didn't talk to Quinyon, unfortunately. We did talk to Cooper. He was a quiet kid.
Very quiet.
Great athlete. He was still coming off the foot injury, I believe.
Yep.
Should have been a first-round pick.
And they pay attention through the whole game.
Not eating hot dogs on the sideline? Is that what you're saying?
No, that
the Tyrique Stevenson thing. Golly, give Tyrique a break. He feels bad about it. All right, Debo, let's take a quick break. Come back and get 5 trades from GM Rick that have to happen before the trade deadline next week, right after this.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want. The big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
All right, Rick, 5 trades general managers around the league should be trying to make right now at this moment. I'm going to give you one first, and then you can tell us what yours are. Given the state of the quarterback situation in next year's draft class, the class we talk about every single week, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe, whomever, would you trade for, say, a Zach Wilson right now, who might be better than any of those guys if you need a quarterback?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think Cam and Sanders are better than Wilson. I think the when you're a general manager, the excitement about, and I understand the inconsistencies that we've seen week in and week out with all these quarterbacks, but the excitement about which one could be in the next Patrick Mahomes compared to taking someone that already has a sample size of not being successful, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
And the unknown of some of these guys, it's not last year's draft. There's no Caleb Williams, no Jayden Daniels, no Drake May. But it's the unknown and the potential of, geez, should I trade for Zach Wilson or one of these guys, maybe the next Patrick Mahomes?
I get that part. But also the other side of that conversation is Sam Darnold. And if you get him in the right situation, is your situation the right situation?
It's kind of leveled off a little bit.
I get that, but I understand what you're saying about the excitement level with a new toy to work with. But sometimes that toy breaks in week 2 and like, oh my God, what have I done?
Right. And then sometimes he's great in week 2 and oh my God, what have I done?
I don't have to sell the house.
I don't have to sell the house. I won't be on a podcast.
All right. So you and here you are. So you're not trading for Zach Wilson.
No,
Okay.
I want to sit and hold.
All right. I got one more for you, and then you can get into your stuff. You didn't know this was going to happen. This is going to be in the overreaction segment, but I moved it here. This sounds crazy, but you just talked about this organization being in a dark place. If some team called you and said, I'll give you a 2nd-round pick for Devontae Adams, are you trading him if you're to the Jets, Joe Douglas?
Yeah, I am.
Really?
2nd-round pick. Now, you're going to lose the locker room. And
That locker room is gone, just so you know, FYI.
And president, owner, general manager, head coach Aaron Rodgers
Ambassador
would not let you do that. But yeah.
But in your heart of hearts, you would be okay with doing that?
If someone gave me a 2nd-round pick,
yeah.
Yeah, although the owner keeps making these moves, Hassan Reddick, who didn't have much of an impact in his first game back, but I just fired my head coach after week 4. Haven't won a game since. I went and made a Devontae Adams trade. The owner's not going to let you do that because he's going to be all in. So,
all right, I'm out of overreactions bullets there. So you're up, sir. What do you
got? Let's go to the Buccaneers first. So
they need wide receivers off the top of my head.
Yes. And I would try to make a run at Cooper Kupp because I think even though they lost to Atlanta this week, they still can be in this thing. And there are a couple of young guys that kind of stepped up, I would say, and they're running the ball a lot better. But with Godwin out, and he was having a career year, in my opinion, maybe his best year of his career, to get back in the way Baker Mayfield is playing, and that the Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator, has a lot of familiarity with Cooper Kupp and how he can fit in to replace a Godwin to go along with Mike Evans when he comes back after his hamstring heals. I think that would give them a chance to maybe get nipping back at the heels, although they're 0-2 against the Atlanta Falcons, but they got a battle to climb uphill battle. But I would try to go get a power move and try to do Cooper Kupp if the LA Rams will take most of the contract.
Yeah, I think the Rams have sort of come off the idea of trading him after that big win the other night. So second round pick is going to be the floor for him. You're okay with that?
I would put a tier kind of trade in there.
Well, what'd you say?
A tier trade where, okay, if you pay X amount of dollars of this contract, because we can only afford $2 million, and let me say I'll give you a third that moves to a second if we achieve X, Y, and Z, whatever those accomplishments are.
Gotcha. Okay. And it sounds like the Rams may have come off Cooper Kupp trading him, but again, we'll see what happens. The trade deadline's a week from now. The weekend, we could see a situation where the Rams maybe lose and change their mind. Okay, so Tampa Bay, Cooper Kupp. What's next?
49ers. I was having a tough time with this one.
Interesting. Who do the 49ers need?
I was looking at defensive tackle.
Okay.
Because Hargrave is done, right? He got injured, did his bicep. And I think they've kind of struggled against the run a little bit. But if Tennessee would trade Sebastian Joseph Day, I think
they said no on Jeffrey Simmons.
Right. So, but a Sebastian Joseph Day, I think, could fit in a San Francisco scheme, or maybe go and get another receiver. Now, I know Ricky Pearsall is back, but he's a rookie. He's still on the move. Debo, not our Debo, Samuel, the guy that actually plays on Sundays, is explosive playmaker, but he has durability concerns.
Yep.
And the rest of the guys, Jennings has had a great year, but to get a Deontay Johnson, who maybe is the best route runner and the best receiver to beat man coverage, to get some separation, especially in that scheme, I think that could be a thing that I would look at too. I would look at either D tackle or potentially another receiver like a Deontay Johnson.
And I made a face because Deontay is known to be, I don't know what the word is, sometimes a little moody, but going to a good team can solve a lot of mood issues.
Winning solves moodiness.
Yeah. All right. What do you got next?
I'm going to go with Titans here. So
what do the Titans need? Their defense is playing really well.
Yeah. I'm going to go with they trade for Bryce Young.
All right, Debo, make a note so we can clip this.
Doing some over-Rick actions here. They gave away Malik.
Yeah, make the case for this.
Okay, Will Levis is not the answer, correct?
It says, okay.
Mason Rudolph is not the answer, correct?
I'll agree with that.
Okay, you got a first-time head coach. They probably studied Bryce coming out. Now, it depends on how the head coach feels about him, and they probably didn't do a lot of work on him because they had Joe Burrow at the time, when he was in Cincinnati. You gave away Malik Willis, who all of a sudden looks like maybe the best quarterback in that entire draft.
He's got more wins, I believe, than Aaron Rodgers and Will Levis.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And if you get Bryce in the right situation, they got some weapons. They got the running backs. They got Ridley. They got rid of D-Hop. They traded him to Kansas City. And what we talked about earlier, knowing the draft class coming out. Now, I don't know where eventually Tennessee, if they'll be in the top 10 or not, to get a Sanders or a Ward, if that fits that scheme. But maybe they're looking at, listen, I know we don't like any of these quarterbacks coming out. I'd rather take a swing at a Bryce Young than a Zach Wilson.
And they currently are picking second overall. They're right behind the Patriots. So they would probably the Panthers, excuse me.
Yeah, if they're second, then I would stick with the quarterback in the draft, taking one Sanders or Ward.
Well, I mean, Carolina picks first, so they're going to take a quarterback. And if you like one quarterback more than the other, maybe Bryce is still on the table.
I would just explore it if they like. That's all I'm saying.
What fourth round pick? You're not giving up more than that.
No.
That is a wild one.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to do wild things on. I'm thinking outside the box.
You're outside the box for sure on that one. You got another one?
I had a couple other ones. I had like three.
Good, let's hear them.
And I won't go into detail because Debo, I'll start Rick bustering again or filibustering.
I'll get the cane to pull you off stage if you get to going too long.
Just hit the light.
I'll hit the light.
I'm going to ask you this one. If you were the Steelers, would you trade for a receiver?
I was so angry that the Rams won because I wanted Cooper Kupp to go to the Steelers for a second-round pick all day long. I would have been quite happy with that. But now Christian Kirk's hurt. He was a potential name on the list. Deontay Johnson, I don't imagine would come back. That seems silly once you just traded him.
Right.
So who's left?
Mike Williams?
What is he giving you, though? So to explain that one to me.
Just another big body along Pickett. You still have your slot speedy guys, right? And is it Roman Wilson? Did he go to?
He's back on IR with it. I think he's only played 4 snaps all year, so he didn't play early on. Only had 4 snaps.
Right now, you're leading the division. You have Russell Wilson, who actually looks rejuvenated in this offense. And if you get another big body receiver and Mike Williams, when healthy, I think to put an opposite of Pickens, yeah. And then you have your little speed guys in there. Austin
Calvin, you can say Calvin's name.
Yeah, whatever.
I will say this though, like I don't hate it.
You're going to get him for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, if that's the case, because I would use him. I would put him in the slot and use him like they use Keon and Seth Tillman, who we just talked about. Just a big, basically a glorified Pat Fryer.
It gives Russell another weapon.
Yeah. So what's a cup of coffee?
6th, 7th rounder.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would do that.
Flopping picks on the back end.
No, I would do that in a heartbeat for sure. All right, what else you got?
Well, I'm saving the Lions for last.
Okay.
So I have one more.
All right, let's do it.
Since Carolina's in a fire sale, Dallas is in a dark place right now. I would call.
Oh Carolina. No, J.C. Horn?
No.
Oh,
Chuba Hubbard. No one talks about running back, and he's a really good running back. He's in the last year of his rookie deal.
That's a good call.
And Zeke and Dalvin Cook is not the same as when we had him. They can't run the ball right now. But Chuba Hubbard has had a really productive year behind a little bit of a suspect offensive line. But one of the unsung heroes on that team, and because they're so bad, no one really talks about them. But I think this guy would give them a great kickstart in the running game with his vision and his power, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And remember, they have Jonathan Brooks, who's going to be coming back off the ACL, right? They drafted from Texas, who we thought was the #1 back last year. So maybe they can get something. Doesn't sound like Jerry Jones is going to make any trades. But if they did go after someone, I'd go maybe after this young running back that I think is very undervalued and underrated in the league.
Speaking of young running backs, I should call out. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I want to make note that I missed on mentioning Tyrone Tracy's name earlier among the rookies because he had an absolute banger of a game before he had a concussion late against the Steelers.
These concussions, it was like when they banged their head on the back of the turf, and that's grass. So it doesn't seem like it matters whether it's turf or grass.
Yeah.
You bang your head, you bang your head.
I'm pro grass, but I agree with that part. Yeah, he had over 140 rushing yards, and they could not stop him until he unfortunately got concussed at the end of that game. And probably they had a real chance of winning that thing until he went out. But Tyrone Tracy, another great game. Our guy Eric Galco said he would lead all rookie rushers, I believe, back in August. So he's doing pretty well there. All right, one last one. Chuba Hubbard's having a good season as well, but that reminded me of Tyrone. One last one, I think. Is that the Detroit Lions time?
Pass rusher. Let's see if we can. And I don't know.
Did you see Dan Campbell dancing at the podium about potentially a trade?
No, I didn't.
He gave a short little speech. Here, you give your little talk on the Lions here. I'll see if I can get Debo this clip.
Okay, so I thought that maybe they would look at Josh O'Shea, the pass rusher from New England that ended up going, but then he got traded for a 6th-round pick. They're not going to give up anything significant. I know that. But they have a very good football team, and they're in their Super Bowl window right now. So maybe they step out of character a little bit. And I have no inside knowledge. So if anyone thinks I have inside knowledge, this is just me and my own speculation. But two players kind of that maybe they would look at. The first one is Zadarius Smith at Cleveland, because I think that he would bring a veteran presence. He still can rush the passer. Cleveland's going nowhere. I think they're done. But I think if you flopped maybe late round picks and you're able to fit him in your cap, that I would look at as Zadarius Smith, because he brings that veteran presence and has been there and done that. And the other guy, and I was watching him last night on the plane, and I don't know if they would move him or not, but with Thibodeau and Burns, would the Giants potentially move Ojulari?
He had a big game against the Steelers as well. Had 2 sacks, I believe.
Yeah, he's been on
after
fire now. The last 3 or 4 games, he's getting pressure on the quarterback. Tackles for loss. His sack production has really went up over his last 3 games. And there's another young one that's behind 2 guys. And like I always said, you can never have enough pass rushers. So I don't think they would entertain giving him up. But if they did, he would be, I think, a great addition for the Lions as well.
Yeah, originally a 2nd-round pick. I think he would have gone higher, but he had a knee injury, I believe, coming out of Georgia.
Me, the guy that I would not trade for, even though he may be on the trading block, and I'm not a huge fan of his, was the Commanders defensive end that went to San Francisco that's currently in New Orleans right now.
Oh, Chase Young.
Chase Young. I would not trade for him.
No, I think that ship has sailed on Chase Young being explosive.
Yep.
Hey, Debo, do you have that clip of Dan Campbell?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, could be.
Seriously, has he come to you with something?
Yeah, could be. All right.
That's Dan Campbell being asked about if they're going to trade for an edge rusher.
Could be.
Could be. And he did a little jump there. So Rick told you what's going to happen. He has inside knowledge. So they're trading for
inside knowledge. The opinions expressed on this podcast are my own and not the stations or the Detroit Lions.
Not the stations. Not the station with the first pick. All right. Are you out of GM moves that have to happen before the trade deadline?
Yeah, thought that was a pretty good list.
You did a pretty good job there.
A couple of little zingers you didn't expect, huh?
Oh, yeah. The Bryce Young to Tennessee thing, that's going to blow up. Debo will take care of that. Oh, one other thing quickly. Would you rather, if you're the Steelers, would you rather have Mike Johnson or Adam Thielen? Not Mike Johnson, Mike Williams, sorry. Mike Williams or Adam Thielen?
I take either or. I'm going to be biased.
I think I might lean towards Thielen just because he's a little more. He's not getting open, but he can play the middle of the field, and you have that on lock.
I'm very biased towards Adam Thielen.
All right, there are worse things to be biased towards.
Yes,
like Bryce Young. All right, we're done here, Rick. A quick programming note though: on Thursday, doing a live mock draft version 2.0, I believe. It'd also be Halloween, so be sure to check back here and see what Rick is going to dress up as. Do you have any hints, Rick?
Of what? What I'm going to dress up as?
Yeah, on Thursday's Halloween. We're doing the mock draft show.
Oh, people used to dress up as me in the office when I was in the office.
Are you serious? Do you have pictures of that?
Like I would share them on this show.
That's true. All right. Well,
no, because I
can't believe people would dress up as you. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, no, it was because I always spilt my coffee on my. I had like 5 shirts that were in my locker.
That doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah. And so someone was walking around with like a buff shirt, a dress shirt, but he cut off the sleeves, and then he had like coffee stains all up and down his white shirt. Yeah, it was. Then he was walking like I walk, since I have the Spielman unique gait, the way me and my brother walk, like Neanderthals.
Oh my gosh, you 100% wore dress shirts with no sleeves, didn't you, in real life?
Well, at least those people dressed up like me, they did.
That is too much. All right, well, come back for that because Rick's going to dress up as somebody. We don't know who yet. Look forward to that. So get your costume ready, Rick. That's it. Episode 193 in the books. Thanks as always to my guy, Rick. Thanks to Debo for producing. And thanks to all you guys who watch, listen, and comment. We'll see you Thursday for the live mock draft show.